To begin review of World War I, we must start at the Congress of Berlin. The Congress of Berlin was a meeting of the leading statesmen of the European great powers and the Ottoman Empire in Berlin in 1878. In the wake of the Russo-Turkish War, the meeting's aim was to reorganize the countries of the Balkans. However, the powers gathered at the Congress of Berlin gave little thought to the actual country and people in the area they were reorganizing. This led to tensions between ethnic groups in the reorganized area, indirectly leading to World War I. Even though the Congress of Berlin did play a part in the start of World War I, the main causes of World War I were the rise in militarism, various number of alliances between the countries in Europe, a rise in nationalism, a great amount of imperialism that can be found during this time, and most importantly, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria. It was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria that led to the Austro-Hungarians declaring war on Serbia on July 28, 1916. Before declaring war on Serbia, though, the Austrians consulted their powerful ally Germany, in which Kaiser Wilhelm gave Austria a blank check that said that no matter what they did, Germany would support them fully. And this is how World War I began. It is during World War I that we see airplanes being used as war machines. It is also during this time that we see the creation of the U-boat by the Germans. And also during World War I, we see trench warfare. The European people felt that World War I would only last until Christmas and that their boys would be back home. However, they were, sadly, very mistaken. World War I would span out to be a war that lasted 4 entire years. However, it was under this enthusiasm that we get the Schlieffen Plan. The Schlieffen Plan was created by General Count Alfred von Schlieffen in December 1905. The Schlieffen Plan was the operation plan for a designated attack on France once Russia, in response to international tension, had started to mobilize her forces near the German border, which Russia did in 1914 after Germany declared war on Serbia. After the Germans declared war on Serbia, the Russians jumped in and also declared war on Germany because of their pan-Slavic relationship. For many of the Slavic people looked up to Russia as a father figure, a protector of sorts, and the Russian people did feel compelled to help the Slavic people of Serbia. The downfall in Schlieffen's plan was that the attack on France was to occur once the Germans had gone through Belgium and Luxembourg. Belgium had had a neutrality guaranteed by Britain in 1839, so his strategy for success depended on Britain not supporting Belgium. However, the British did in fact hold up their end of the bargain, and they declared war on Germany on August 4th, 1914. It is because of the failed Schlieffen Plan that we get trench warfare. When Germany tried to advance into French territory, they had not expected the French to be as prepared as they were. Once the German army reached the River Marne, they were fiercely attacked by the Allied forces. Artillery exploding left and right forced the Germans to dig. The end result of the digging by November 1914 was 400 miles of barbed wire and mud that stretched from the Alps to Belgium. Commonwealth soldiers came from India, Africa, but still more troops were needed. It is for that reason that we see many of the countries who are fighting start to use propaganda to gain more people willing to fight for them in World War I. Let's take a deeper look at trench warfare and how it all worked. In trench warfare, what would happen was the two opposing sides would both dig trenches that could be 6 feet deep or greater. And every day what would happen was that each side would shoot or throw grenades to each other, defeat their opponent. In between the two trenches would be a place that they call no man's land. The reason they call it no man's land is because whenever they sent people out there, it was very, very unlikely that they would come back alive. Due to all the gunfire, grenades, barbed wire, landmines that were either in that area or passing through it. During World War I, many countries faced problems internally. For instance, Britain faced the Easter Rising in Ireland during Easter week in 1916. The rising was mounted by Irish Republicans to end British rule in Ireland and secede from the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland and establish an independent Irish Republic while the United Kingdom was heavily engaged in World War I. It was the most significant uprising in Ireland since the rebellion of 1798. The Irish Rebellion, however, did not have the immediate success that they had hoped for, because overall the British authorities responded fairly well to the rising. Reinforcements were sent in immediately, and all the revolts were stomped out. Russia was another country that also faced internal problems during World War I. In fact, their problems were so severe that Russia had to draw out of the war. For during this time, Russia was going through their civil war, which all started in February 1917 with the February Revolution, which overthrew the Tsarist government of that time. The Tsarist government during that time was underneath Tsar Nicholas Romanov. Many Russians didn't like Tsar Nicholas. They did not like his policies. And furthermore, they speculated that it wasn't even him really running the Russian government, but instead his wife's secret lover, Rasputin, who apparently had magical powers that would heal her son of his life-threatening disease. Therefore, the Russian people were really against this overthrow of the government. The February Revolution led to the establishment of a provisional government that was composed predominantly of former nobles and aristocrats. During this time, urban workers began to organize into councils wherein revolutionaries criticized the provisional government and its actions. This led to the October Revolution, also known as the Bolshevik Revolution, which was a seizure of state power instrumental in the large Russian Revolution of 1917. It took place with an armed insurrection in Petrograd, traditionally dated in October 25th, 1917. The October Revolution occurred because many of the Russian people grew tired of World War I, and their loyalty shifted from the provisional government, which supported the war effort, to the Bolsheviks, which opposed the war. The Bolsheviks were led by a man named Vladimir Lenin, who was very pro-communist. Once Lenin had overtaken the Winter Palace, which was the former home of the provisional government, he, true to his word, pulled Russia out of World War I. His motto was bread, land, and peace, which were the main issues that the Russian people wanted addressed by the government, and thus explains why the Bolsheviks were supported by the Russian people so greatly. Under Vladimir Lenin's administration, the Russian Empire was replaced by the Soviet Union. All wealth, including land, industry, and business, was confiscated. Lenin made sure that the chances of there being a revolt against the Bolshevik government was very unlikely, with the establishment of the Cheka, which was a secret police in Russia during this time. The Cheka were fundamental to the reign of the Red Terror, which was an organized program of arrests, imprisonments, and killings of any of those who opposed the Bolshevik government. Lenin and his Bolshevik army are the ones to plant the seed for communism to grow in Russia as greatly as it has. As Russia exits the war, America enters, foregoing its long policy of isolationism in regards to European affairs. What really draws America into World War I is the sinking of the Lusitania, which was a ship that traveled from America to England and that carried about 110 Americans. The Lusitania was sunk by a German U-boat. With the entrance of America into the war, with almost complete support of the American people, there is a great shift in the course of World War I. Now, it seems as if the Allies, with Britain and America and Italy as the main allies, cannot lose against Germany and Austria. Finally, after 4 long years, on the 11th hour of the 11th day in 1918, the Germans surrender, and it is officially recognized that the Allies have won the war. This led to the Paris Peace Conference in 1919. The Paris Peace Conference was the meeting of the Allied victors following the end of World War I to set the peace terms for the defeated Central Powers following the armistice of 1918. It took place in Paris during 1919 and involved diplomats from more than 32 countries and nationalities. During the Paris Peace Conference, Georges Clemenceau of France, who led the nation during the First World War, who was the leader of the Radical Party, demanded that Germany pay for all of the destruction it had caused, leading to Germany signing the Treaty of Versailles, which in Article 231 said that they were the sole cause of World War I and had them follow the mandates specified in the Treaty of Versailles, which said that their army could not be too big, their navy could be non-existent. The Treaty of Versailles was really, really harsh in regards to Germany and their part in the war. And the Germans were extremely angry at Article 231, also known as the War Guilt Clause, which blamed the whole war on them, basically. That is World War I in a nutshell.